Hi, it's Justin from CanadaWhips.com, and today we're going to talk about whip choreography. Recently on another of my videos, I got a comment asking about how to choreograph routines because this person was trying to choreograph something for the LA WhipCon virtual competition. So I'm going to show you with one whip and with two whips how I choreograph my routines, and hopefully you can apply that knowledge and use it to choreograph your own. There's tons of different ways to put a whip routine together, but this is the way that I've always used, and it's really helpful for me, and hopefully it's helpful for you too. To start, we're going to go over just some tips for how I would choreograph for the LA WhipCon, and then I'm going to show you how to choreograph 3 different tricks together with one whip and then with 2 whips. Let's get started. The starting point for the LA WhipCon virtual competition would be to go to the Facebook page. In the About section, I can see the rules listed, and it says here that I need to submit a video of myself cracking the whips for 1 minute. I need to start with 3 cattleman's cracks, then do 3 fast figure 8s, and then 3 volleys of 6 cracks each. After that, I have the rest of the minute to do my best whip cracking. Basically, all I need to do is choreograph a routine to fill the rest of the minute after I've finished the required cracks. So the first step would be to find out how long it takes me to do those cracks. This is my entry for the LA Whip competition. My required cracks started about 4 seconds and they ended about 24 seconds. So that means I have 20 seconds filled with required cracks, and then I have to choreograph a routine to fill the extra 40 seconds left to fill up the minute. As I said before, I'm not going to choreograph an entire 40 seconds because that would take a long time, but I will show you how to do it with 3 different tricks, and we're going to start with the one whip. Your first step is choosing a theme or an idea for your routine. In this routine, for example, I wanted to see how many throws I could do in a very short amount of time. It doesn't have to be this specific. It could be just showing all the different cracks that I know, or it could be something as specific as showing all the different variations on a certain move that I know. Really, it's whatever you want it to be. Your next step is to make a list of all of the moves that you want to add into your routine. For example, in the routine that I just showed you, my list was a bunch of different throws, and then after I made that list, I was able to put them in an order that made logical sense. For this video, I'm just going to choose 3 different tricks and put them together, and I'll show you how I do that. Instead of making a list, I've gone to the Canada Whips website. I'm going to go into the Other Moves section and choose 2 different throws that I want to do. The first one is the elbow toss, which is a really fun throw that's visual and I really like it. And the second is the Wilkes Wonder, which I find a little bit harder, but it's in a different plane, so it's going to show some variation in my routine. Finally, I'm going to go into the Basic Cracks section, which lists individual cracks, and choose a crack from here, like the Tasmanian cutback. These are the 3 tricks that I'm going to add into my routine: the elbow toss, the Wilkes Wonder, and the Tasmanian cutback. Now I'm going to show you how to put those in an order that makes sense. For step 3, you need to think about the orientation and direction of rotation for all of the tricks that are on your list. For example, I know that the Wilkes Wonder is an overhead trick that happens while the whip is spinning counterclockwise around my head. I know that the Tasmanian cutback happens behind my back, and I know that the elbow toss is very similar to the cattleman's crack in that it's a vertical trick that happens to the side of my body. Now we need to find a way to link these tricks together. I'll start with one of them, like the Tasmanian cutback. I know the easiest way for me to get into the Tasmanian cutback is to do an overhead crack before it. Now I need to find a trick in my list that's similar to the overhead crack. Wilkes Wonder is a great trick for this because the overhead crack and Wilkes Wonder both happen in the overhead plane with a counterclockwise direction. So I know I can do Wilkes Wonder, continue that rotation, and then do the overhead crack, which gets me into the Tasmanian cutback. Now I need to find a way to go from the Tasmanian cutback into the elbow toss. This isn't too hard because I know I can do the Tasmanian cutback and then do a cattleman's crack right after. As I said before, the cattleman's crack is very similar to the elbow toss because the direction and the plane are exactly the same. For that reason, I can do a Tasmanian cutback and go right into my elbow toss. That's how I finish off the routine. Now we're going to do some choreography with 2 whips. This is a little bit harder because modifying the way that your whips are moving can make them tangle, it can make them miss cracks, and just with 2 hands, it's a lot harder to keep track of what each whip is doing. Let's start by picking 3 tricks, and then I'm going to show you how to get over those problems. I'm going to do more or less the same thing I did when choosing my two-handed tricks. I've gone to the two-handed section of the website, and I'm going to choose 3 tricks that I want to do. I'm going to choose the each way, the skip over, and the Orient Express. To choreograph double whip routines, I like to use what I call base patterns. For example, the Tasman crossover has a base pattern that's the Queensland crossover. In other words, the Queensland crossover is a more simple version of the Tasman crossover. And so if I wanted to change the Tasman crossover into something else, I might do the Tasman crossover, switch back into the Queensland crossover, and then change into whatever other trick I'm trying to do. This is because the Queensland crossover, because it's basic, is a lot more manageable and easier to modify than the Tasman crossover is. Let's start by finding the base patterns for the tricks that we chose. This is the Orient Express. Its most simple form is the Queensland crossover. This is the skip over. The skip over is a base pattern in itself. I can't think of a way to do the skip over in a more simple way, so we'll just call the skip over the simplest version of itself. Finally, this is the each way. The each way is a basic timing variation. I would say that the base pattern for this would just be same time, slow figure eights. Now I need to find a way to transition between the 3 base patterns that we have. I know that the Queensland crossover transitions into the skip over really easily because all I have to do is drop my arms a little and throw one whip over the other. So that's a natural transition point for this routine. After that, I need to find out how to turn the skip over into the each way or into the same time slow figure eights because that's the base pattern of the each way. To do this, when I'm doing the skip over, I just turn my body slightly and move one whip over onto the other side. That is the easiest way to transition from the skip over to our different timing variations such as the same time or the each way. Now is the hard part, which is adding in the more difficult versions of the base patterns. So I'll start with the Orient Express, I'll transition into the Queensland crossover, then I'll transition into the skip over, then I'll transition into the slow figure eights, and then I will transition into the each way. That's the easiest way to finish this routine with all of the tricks included. I go difficult, down to the base pattern, transition, transition again, and from the base pattern, back up to the difficult routine. If you're going from difficult routine to difficult routine to difficult routine, it's a lot harder to transition between those tricks. And so having the base patterns as a buffer zone allows you the opportunity to get the whips to go where you need them to go. However, once you've practiced enough, you should be able to transition between all of the different tricks without having to go down to the base pattern. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. If you have any other questions that you'd like answered, feel free to leave them in the comment section or send us an email through our website. Again, my name's Justin. Good luck choreographing your routines, and I'll see you next time.